Hello everyone and welcome to Leetcode 238, product of array except self. So we're given an integer array nums. As we can see from the example, nums here is 1 2 3 4, and we have to return another array answer such that the ith index of answer is equal to the product of all elements of nums except the ith index of nums. So in order to actually explain this better, let's take a look at this example. So we have 1 2 3 and 4, of course, and the array answer, as they've instructed us to do, is given here in the output. So as we can see, the ith index of answer, right, let's just take the number 24, is equal to the product of all the elements of nums except the ith index of nums. So since this is the first element, let's sort of just cross out the first element of nums and then compute the product of the rest, and this is just 24. So the first element is 24. Now for the second element, we just cross out the second element of nums and calculate the product, which is 12. So we add 12 to this, and then again with 8 you'd cross out this and then you'd get 8. With 6 you cross out 4 and you get 6. And we're given extra restrictions, and this is where the question sort of gets interesting. We have to add an algorithm that runs in O of n complexity and without using the division operation. And so it gets difficult now because we can't use division. Originally we could just take the product of the entire list, right, which would be 24, and then when you're adding it to this list you just have to divide it by nums, or the index in nums. So for the first position you just divide 24 by the first number and it would remain 24. For the second position you divide 24 by the second number in nums, which is 2. You'd get 12, and then so on until you get 8 and 6. So how do we solve this problem? Now let's take a look at our list and understand the fundamental behind this problem. For any number, say let's take 3, the answer that we're going to require is the product between the numbers on its left, right? In this case 2 into 1 is 2, and the numbers on its right, in this case it's 4, and this gives us 8, which is the answer we need. And likewise for every number, for 3 we'd have 8, for 2 we'd have 1 into 3 into 4, right, which is 12. For 1 we don't have any numbers on the left, let's just keep that as 1 for as a placeholder, and we'd get 2 and a 3 into 4, which is 24. And for 4, since we have no numbers on the right, let's just keep it as 1, so we'd have this 1 into 3 into 2 into 1, so that's 6. And this seems like a pretty simple explanation. So let's go into the logic that we're going to use to code up the solution. Assume that we have two lists, L and R, which tell us the products to the left and to the right of the number. So when we took the example of 3, the product of the numbers to its left would be 2 into 1, right? And that's 2. And on the other hand, when we look at the right of 3, we see 4, and that would be the product that we have here. Likewise, we can fill it up for every number, and for 1, since we have the left as nothing, we're just going to keep it as 1, and the right would be 24. For 2, again, we have the product on its left as 1, but the product on its right is 12. And for 4, we're going to have 6 and 1. Now if you'll notice, all we have to do to actually get our answer here is multiply these, right? And we'll end up with 24, 12, 8 and 6. So the solution works pretty well when we can use these two lists, L and R. But how would we go about actually making them? Let's start off by replacing this L with just a list full of ones, right? Because that's how we're going to initialize it. And then let's understand the logic here. Let's just skip the iteration of 1, because I mean it's just going to give us 1. And for 2, we understand that we have to take the previous value, multiply with the previous value in L, and then supply this value to the position of 2. And in this case it still remains 1. Well, let's look at 3. So for 3, the previous value is 2, and we have to multiply this with the previous value of in L. So this would actually give us 2, and then we have to take this to here, and so we can replace this with 2. And likewise, likewise for 4 the previous value is 3, and when we multiply it over here we should actually get 6. So we can pretty well understand how the forward iteration works. And the backward iteration is actually a pretty similar concept. Let's just replace this with 1s as well. And for 4, since the only number on its right is 1, we're going to keep it as 1. For 3, we're going to multiply 4 with this one and then put it here, right? So what'll happen here is it will just become 4 itself. And then again for 3, or for 2, we're gonna multiply this number with 3. I don't want to draw too many arrows, but we'll end up getting 12 over here. And once we reach 1, we'll take the value before it, which is 2, multiply it with 12 to give us to give us 24. So now that we actually understood how the iteration works, let's try coding it up. We're just gonna start off by creating the lists L and R, and this should be quite easy. We're just gonna put 1 and as many times as nums. So we're just gonna copy that, put it in R. So that's the assignment done. Now let's do the forward running, right? So we'd have to iterate through the list L. And as we mentioned in the example, we're going to be starting from the first index, because for the 0th index the product of the numbers on the left is always going to be 1, or it's always going to be nothing essentially. Now let's get to assigning, right? So what we remember from the diagram is that the value of I will be equal to the value of the previous value from L into the previous value from nums, right? So this is going to be pretty simple. We're just going to have I minus 1 for L and also I minus 1 for nums, and that's going to just update our L. Now we're going to do the backward running, and so to iterate through a list in reverse, we're just going to want to take it like this, and we use a pretty similar syntax here, except instead of I minus 1 we're going to use I plus 1. And here too, since we're starting from the second last index, because the last index will always have the product of numbers on its right as 1, we're just gonna minus 1 more from this. So that's both our L and R done, and now we can just input the values into answer, and we're just gonna run a loop through the length of nums, and we're just gonna append that to our list answer, and we're gonna multiply them. We're gonna multiply them and return the answer, and there we go. Let's just submit it and check it out. Yep, that's it.